let's do a complete cockpit familiarization, all switches, all systems, to the best of my knowledge. What do you think, Hello Kitty? Shall we? Let us in the chat. First, let's get rid of this here pilot model. Let's close the canopy. It's going to get loud. This guy's going to fire his motor up. Rails, rails. Canopy down. Let's talk about this canopy for a second. On the canopy, we have some systems. We have our chart light right here. We have our handrails for that signature move that Pal likes to do. We have our mirrors. Right-clicking them with your mouse will disengage and engage them. You can also select them from the menu and deselect them from the menu to be present on startup. Same with the pilot body. This is our shoot cue missile launch parameter right here. We have on our shoulders, we have the ability to check through a push button, no and no go, go and no go. I don't believe they function. Our video cameras, I don't believe they function either. Left and right shoulder. This is our magnetic Jahamics receiver right here. Don't know much about that. Our heads-up display has the same bit we can do go and no go. So now let's get into the workflow of the cockpit. So you have to develop a workflow to be able to memorize this to the degree that you need to be able to be a certified mech and turn qual person, and I'm sure pilot. Starting in the back, I would call this my left elbow. Starting in the left elbow, we've got the nuclear enable switch, self-describing. We've got mission computer 1 and 2. If I select mission computer 1 off, trust me, everything's going to go off and your DDIs are going to go to standby, so you don't want to do that. Hydraulic override, if we select that, we're going to be able to override our hydraulics to 2B in flight with our throttles up and flying. If we happen to need our APU to restart a motor for some reason and we got an APU accumulator or just got one, we could test or recharge our bottle by engaging override. We'd go to 2B. That would charge our bottle that's in our nose wheel steering. Otherwise, you would have to pump it up. You can't do it on deck unless you're at a high power turn, I think. Or maybe it doesn't function with weight on wheels. Also, you could override and isolate 1B, 1A, 2B, 2A systems. OBOGs, don't know anything about it, but that's self-explanatory. On and off, we had locks. The IFF panel and the ILS panel are backups for your upfront controller systems in case they go down. I don't know anything about this very much, but this is very self-explanatory as well. If you need to use it on manual, use it on manual. I believe you would set this in the same way just in case it went out during landing, so you didn't have to worry about it. You would still have your backups in your needle. Guard transmit COM 1 and 2 would allow you to isolate out and allow you to speak on guard immediately without doing much more than flicking that switch, and I think that would be also in conjunction with you losing the ability to guard out on pre-selecting guard because the upfront controller went out, in my opinion. Cipher, same way it would be plain. If we were just talking, we didn't care, or off, or in cipher if we wanted to cipher. That potentially could be through the Vinsan KY58. I'm not real sure about that. Someone could let me know in the comments. ALE 39 reset for our countermeasures does not function. The antennas upper and lower do. IFF has upper and lower antennas. You could imagine why, and you could imagine why you would want to isolate them. Your volume channels, you have the Vox for hot and cold miking. You have the internal comm systems in case we were a two-seater or for talking to the ground. Weapons, I would turn my growler down. My radar warning receiver, I would turn that indication down some. I would turn one of my mids down so that I understood who was talking when. I would turn A down, it would be the most chattery. TACAN, I would keep it down. I wouldn't want the audible. And aux, I would keep down. That's for like the ADF we'll talk about in a minute, and some, I think one other thing. The flight control panel consists of the reset button, which would be a part of the startup in conjunction with pulling back and engaging the paddle switch found here. You would check your G limit override, reset the systems, and then push down on rudder trim, and what you'll do is if this is drifted off, push that down, you will center stabilizer and rudders back into the takeoff position. Gain override is the ability to override the computer to a degree that allows either the pilot or the maintenance personnel to go in and manually isolate and interrogate and check leading edge extension problems and things like that, or adjust them manually. I heard you could do some tricks with it. I don't know anything about that. Engine crank and APU. The APU comes on. In 30 seconds it's ready. You get the ready light. It comes on and provides some power and resources for bleed air. It's not what solely cranks the engine. It will spool the engine to a degree upwards of about 30 RPMs. You want to have engaged your throttles by 18, allowing fuel to flow. By 30, the air turbine starter should engage, and by 45, the igniters engage. That gives you kickoff. Left and right engine is what gives you the bleed authority to those engines. Let's talk about the dump switch. It works automatically if you engage dump and you select on your IFE, your integrated fuel and engine indicator. You can select a bingo here, and that would be displayed, and that you could use it as a cutoff. It would automatically cut off your dump switch. External tanks, wings, centerline, and override would allow me on the ground to start removing fuel from these tanks. In norm, it allows them to just work the way they work. When the wheels come up, the tanks will start to drain, but if you sat for 45 minutes and your wings were off level, could be a problem. So on the deck you would engage override, which would allow bleed air to be stolen from systems and pumped into the tanks. In stop, you wouldn't take fuel in or get fuel out. It works the same with wing inhibit. Norm inhibit stops them from doing anything with the wing tanks. Internals. Probe extend, retract in emergency, self-explanatory. Above the throttles here we have strobes. Those are found on your vertical stabilizers. They have a dim, an off, or a bright. You have light disciplines, so you would use them accordingly. Positions are your red and green. They're seen from all positions of the aircraft. Formations are only seen from your wingman's perspective, not above you or below you, so they can't be used for positioning. Gen tie would allow me to reset in case I lost an engine and gained an engine and had to retie the engines together, or isolate them. Up, reset would clear out a gen tie. On the seat itself, you have the ejection handle. It would be pinned. You have the manual. You could test it. You have the arm. You can test it. Don't pull this. This is the seat harnessed locking device. When you do that, you're ready for takeoff or maneuvers. You can lean in. Your harness will start engaging and pull back and give you the ability not to slide around so much, and it also gives you some force and some restriction. You gotta really lean against it. Up here we have the external ground power, and to demonstrate that you would engage your battery on. You would ask through comms for the ground crew to give you ground electrical power. You would turn it on. When he says copy.
Copy.
You would hold reset up for a period of time. I think it was 30 seconds, but
power is now on.
Not sure that is really a thing in DCS, so we'll just hold it up for a second, let go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're pinching this switch and this switch together. We're going to have to hold them for a period of time till we hear all the systems engage. We just can't let them go. Now we let them go and they work. We go and do the same thing here. We want to go up and down, and that's right and left click on the mouse and hold them for a period of time. This is going to let us turn on our DDIs. We could now turn our systems on, and we could bring all of our power systems up. Right? That's how ground power works. Let's turn those systems off. And let's turn ground power off. And let's tell Chief we're done.
Chief, turn off the ground power.
There we go. You'd use it for testing. There's a card here that would describe for you the things you want to do to isolate different systems if you wanted to run just certain DDIs. This is your dispenser slap switch. This is your bang that you see Top Gun always do. These are your flight control computer breakers, your speed brake breaker. They pop out and in. 15 and 4, and there's the launch bar. Right here we have Bitch and Betty's little fire test for A and B. When you engage that, you rotate some things. You're going to rotate the bleed airs to off. It's going to cycle through some systems and check them, and in conjunction you'll use some of this to test your fire bottle, which is over here, and make sure that says ready when you turn these off, this off in the APU here. Hook bypass field or carrier allows you on your AOA indexer here to receive an indication of whether your hook is up or down while you're carrier landing. We've got landing light, we've got anti-skid. This would be off, this would be off. Field would be down in carrier for carrier operations. Retract and extend launch bar. It's down now and we have to fire it up to get it up. Flaps are in full when you start up for a reason. There's a bleed that you would do on exiting the jet that would allow the systems to bleed down. It doesn't model in DCS. It would cause the stabilizers to lay down and they wouldn't fall down. We would know what position they were in all the time. We wouldn't bump our heads on them by not knowing. We have our stores select jettison and our right and left rack missiles. In conjunction with the jettison station here, we can select the jettison stores. Center line, left in, right inboard, left outboard, right outboard. You have to use master arm in conjunction with that to hit this. We have our gear. If you pull out on this and rotate, you're going to blow the gear. That's emergency blow. Behind here you have the down lock override and the warning tone for when you rip your doors off because you didn't pull the gear up in time. You could silence it back here. Emergency park and brake. It's weak. Don't use it. This is your integrated fuels and engine indicator. You're going to have fuel system time management here, the ability to clock, change time zone. This is for up and down of your bingos. This is for checking all the quantities individually in case you couldn't through your HUD. These are for modes that don't function except for, I think, clock. You can reset things in here. These will show your engine displays in your nozzle parameters, your RPM, and your exhaust gas temperatures. Not fuel flow, or not thrust. Fuel flow, but not thrust. Thrust is missing from here, which is fair, I guess. Over here we have push to jet and canopy jettison. It would be pinned. Don't play with this. Don't play with this. Don't play with this. But you can test this and this, remember. So, master arm, air to ground, air to air. That's our fire extinguisher dispenser. Both left and right DDIs are mimic. Everything is the same. You have contrast, bright, day and night, push buttons 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, 16 through 20. Our upfront controller has the ability to use a scratch pad. There's a lot that goes on in here. This is how you're going to operate systems such as navigation, targeting, things like that. On the left at the top, the IP button. At a certain distance, or let's say waypoint, we were instructed to rejoin with our package, and then we all pushed this. This would upload indications from our IFF that we've preset, letting them know who we are, where we are, what altitude we're at. Probably something in our mode C, I would think, and maybe all modes. Our automatic direction finder would allow us to find on a specific comm frequency that we chose to dial the frequency of the ADF marker in for navigation. Automatic direction finding gives us a display on our HSI of a direction but not a bearing, and then vocally we hear the strength of a signal so we can kind of dial in as to how far, if we're traveling away or towards, how far we are by the volume of that. Here's our volume and our on-off for our comms. Right here, comms would be off. We would have them turned off. Below that is the comm indicator light telling us what channel we're on, and here's the stud. We'd pull it out to turn the channel, right, for our comms. These switches down here, these push buttons down here, this is for autopilot. It would engage over here. You would get a display, and using these push button selects here, you could use barometric radar altimeter, heading select, or attitude select for autopilot. The IFF would allow you through these push buttons and these here and the scratch pad to set different codes for identify friend or foe. TACAN's the same way. You would have an X and a Y. You'd be able to use these buttons and this along with this and the on switch to engage a TACAN. ILS, same thing. Data link has 2 pages. The first page is for information leading to missions and operations and auto carrier landing. The same with beacon. Data link has a second page that can kind of use fighter-to-fighter data link and other data link features within it. Like I said, the right DDI is a mimic. Up here we have 2 different displays that give you different indications. Speed, brake, things like that will be displayed up here. SAMs will be displayed up here. On our outboard we have our IR seeker head cool. We would have it in norm or override. Override would give us the ability to feed coolant for a specific period of time. HMD, of course, turns our hammocks from off and on brighten. Spin recovery, don't play with it. It's not for you, pilots, not for you. These are our backup indicators here. They're going to be important if you lose systems. You're going to rely on these. Our backup ADI, this is going to be our backup RWR, radar warning receiver. This is our attitude, and we're going up or down, and how fast we're going up or down. Our altitude and our barometric pressure, and we can set the barometric pressure here, but it will set manually in the jet. If everything's working, it'll do automatic. Here's our speed in knots. Over here below these knobs here, we have the ability to reject information on our HUD. I like to use reject 2 to scale down my HUD when I'm fueling. Our bright for the HUD and on off for the HUD, day night for the HUD. These features here, they're not implemented in the jet, but how it works is this. Suppose we had a FLIR pod on and it was, let's say, night, and we had our FLIR pod on and we had, let's say, the ability to do something, I don't know, called nav FLIR, and we had, I don't know, maybe the ability to see that up here and do what certain other jets do that we didn't know this one can do because it doesn't do, but it does. You would engage the video and be able to balance that here with these knobs. That's what that would do. Below this is the AOA indexer. Bright and on, turn it down real low at night. This is your radar altimeter and barometric altimeter. Radar altimeter works in conjunction with this. Barometric works in conjunction with your barometric altimeter here, and your system's inside the HSI that you can set. Attitude is INS or auto or standby. In standby you'd get a D grade. In INS you'd get INS. And in auto systems would just work. You'd get no indication that anything was wrong, right, or indifferent. The center AMPCD is different from these the following way. Number 1, you have the heading bug selector that would on your compass row give you the ability to dial in conjunction with autopilot and heading select feature here. You'd be able to set a heading and fly that heading. Course line is different than heading. Course line is going to fly you to a course line and then on a course line for either landing or, let's say, a bombing or strafing run over a waypoint. You have the ability to turn it on and brighten it and then select night and use the contrast and gain features after selecting night to unlock the automatic features for daytime to scale this down, and using the symbology systems here you can scale how bright or how dark the symbology is. If you use all of this together you can get a good read on this and see it the way you like it in map mode, and if not you can always double tap this mode button and exit the map mode and just have the same features here. Alright, over here on our outboard we have our backup compass, we have our hook, our wings fold spread, our radar systems that we can set and adjust, our hydraulic pressure, warning lights indications can be seen on the center AMPCD, the left bottom AMPCD, and here we have our emergency AV cool, which would be cooled by dropping a ram, I think, or stealing air from different places of the motor. Battery, right, that receives what our battery's doing. Hydraulic pressure, right, that tells us our hydraulic pressure left and right. Generators off, you could isolate those if you had a problem. The environmental controls panel, auto mode would just automatically give our pressure to our cabin correctly, and ram if we had a problem we needed to ram it. This could ram dump it if we had smoke. This is for our suit, and this is for the cabin. Temperature on top for cabin, temperature on bottom for suit. Our anti-ice systems work PTOC on. Pilot would ask to test. We would take the back of our hand and glove to go over and test it and feel for heat. It worked. The engine test he'd perform himself in test. It would just start heating up and telling him whether he had ice, and then it would give a false signal of ice. He would see ice, and then he could test his systems to see if they came on and heated up. He would know inside. I can't climb inside a turning duct to test. It heats the inlet guide vanes. Below that is the light instrument panel. We have the ability to test our warning lights and control the brightness of them. Our consoles, instrument flood, NVGs, or night and day. We have 3 positions here. Chart light. Outboard doesn't function, but this would work in rain. It would blow bleed air up here onto your HUD, clearing it, and if you indicated it was anti-ice, it would blow hot bleed air up here. The defog would just blow hot inner air up for the internal. These things fogged up all along here pretty badly, pretty regularly. So you'd run your defog. Canopy switch, of course, we have more breakers here, and we have our utility light, we have our FCS. Our sensor panel consists of the FLIR standby on for our @FLIR or our Lightning II, the arm for the laser target designator, and the LST for laser spot track. FLIR is not featured and does not function. Carrier alignment, ground alignment, nav for non-GPS, IFA for GPS, gyro, GB and test, I don't know what those are. Radars, standby, operate, emergency pull, I don't have that feature and I don't think you do either. The KY58 Vincent radio operates like this. On channel 1 or 2, we select a comm frequency, me and my co-pilot, right, or my wingman. We go on, we go C, we can now communicate with each other, top secret on whatever pre-designated channel we desired on 2 or 1, and that's how that works. It works in conjunction with SRS in DCS. I haven't used the DCS comms yet. Manual override handle, right, that's dejection, boom, get me out of here, this doesn't work anymore. Alright, I believe that concludes this cockpit familiarization tutorial. If I left anything out, you let me know in the comments. Alright everybody, peace.